Fatso Radio. Hey everybody, what's going on? What's going on? Welcome to Fatso Radio, episode number 122. That's right, another Friday night, and it's my pleasure to come to you. My name is Carlo Volpe. Fatso Radio is all about finding health, finding fitness, finding just good health and optimization through high-fat ketogenic diet. Today is no different, folks. I talk about it again today. I talk about the groups, the Facebook groups, and how to navigate your way in the social media jungle. But before we begin, this episode and every episode is brought to you by Volpe Martial Arts. That's right. Volpe Martial Arts is my brother, Sifu Adams' hottest, newest Kung Fu and Hapkido school in the KW region. That's right. Kitchener and Waterloo, folks. My brother, Sifu Adam Volpe, comes to you, brings you his lifelong passion, his skill, his camaraderie. He's a team player. He's a big family member. He's my brother. I love him to death. Check it out, VolpeMartialArts.com. All right, folks. Without further ado, me, another solo episode. I just talk about some things that's on my mind. I love y'all. Lily, take it away. Fatso Radio.
Fatso, the really great podcast show.
Fatso, a very first podcast show.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? Welcome to Fatso Radio. My name is Carlo Volpe, and it's my pleasure to come to you each and every Friday. And tonight is no different, folks. Welcome to Fatso Radio. Friday, June 4th. Wow, is it June 4th already? Amazing, folks. And again, my name is Carlo. Like I said, every single Friday I come to you, Fatso Radio, a podcast, a YouTube channel, a Facebook group, a Facebook page, a website, a blog, all dedicated to just sharing with the world what I found, what I'm finding every single day, my opinions as well. Of course, I'm going to give you my opinions. I'm going to give you my feedback. When you do something for quite a while, whether you're doing it right or wrong, you're learning along the way. And you learn so much for doing things wrong, of course. And I see a lot of things and I want to share, right? I'm not shitting on anybody, and it's all comes in good love. And I thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. If you haven't subscribed already, please hit the subscribe button. If you subscribe, please hit the notifications bell so you'll get a notification every single Friday when a new episode comes out. And please share the word, the visuals, whatever you like. Please share it. Please keep on with your feedback. I really appreciate everybody. fatsoradio@gmail.com, or just hit me up on Facebook. I appreciate that as well. Folks, today I want to talk about social media. I want to talk about social media, Facebook groups, diet groups in particular. The funny thing about social media, it's crazy, but the funny thing about social media, and specifically Facebook, is around the whole idea of this Dunbar's number, right? So if you haven't heard of Dunbar's number, but Dunbar's number basically means it's the maximum number of people that Dunbar thought, a researcher thought that the maximum amount of people you could have a relationship with, maximum amount of human beings you can have a relationship with. So in that, so Dunbar's number is the number of people that basically Dunbar theorized, and he's projected that you could have a relationship with, a stable relationship with, based off of some interesting stuff about the brain size of primates and basically the brain size. He predicted that you can have a good relationship with around 150 people. And it's interesting because Facebook or other social media platforms, it's interesting because you get thrown in there with hundreds of thousands of people, sometimes millions of people on these groups, and I'm going to get into that. And it's interesting to see the social dynamics, the social interactions. It's completely different. It's nothing like anything we've ever dealt with before in our civilizations. If you just can imagine, it's not hard to imagine. It's not hard to compare what it is today compared to 100 years ago, 10,000 years ago, or 100 years ago, rather, 1,000 years ago, 200 years ago, whatever. Any time in history, you could post something online right now today, Facebook, YouTube, or what have you, and it could be seen by 4 or 5 million people in a day. Within a week, it could be 10 million people, 20 million people, 1 billion people. It could be within a month. It's insane. We've never had that kind of reach before. So because of that, there's a lot of crazy things that happen, right? A lot of crazy things that we all see. A couple things I just want to kind of point out. So that Dunbar's number of 150, I don't know if it's quite 150. What's your opinion? Let me know. It's probably more than that. I think I have probably a relationship with more than 150 people. Facebook, I don't even know idea how many friends I have anymore, but it's probably eight or nine or something like that, 8 or 900,000, not 8 or 900,000, but 8 or 900 perhaps. But again, you don't talk to these people every single day, and you don't have what maybe some people would consider a meaningful relationship, but you're still having contact with a lot of people. And I don't know how many it is. It'd be interesting to see. But what I want to talk about specifically is the the groups around the diet groups and everything, because I see a lot of it. And I have a Facebook group, of course, the Fatso Radio diet and fitness group, the Fatso Radio page, of course. But I see a lot of groups around keto. You know, the keto group, the carnivore group, the keto for beginners group. I don't know if I'm saying them exactly, but they're great groups for a lot of great reasons. Any group out there that is serving people and helping people is great. At the same time, a lot of these groups are getting super, super toxic. I get that. And I'm not trying to be toxic in my feedback today. I'm trying to be a little bit funny, but I'm really trying to point out some truth as well. But a lot of them are toxic, and I definitely want to discourage people from being toxic, from just making anybody feel bad. And I just want to say that this comes in love. It comes in love. So first thing I noticed a typical person, or the typical experience when you come up to a diet, specifically the keto diet. I've seen this a lot in the last year, last 2 or 3 years, even 2 or 3 years ago when I did this. Well, when did I start? 2015, end of 2015, 2016. That's when I started. So about 5 years ago, I guess now. When I first started, it was like, oh, what are you doing? You're crazy. You're going to die of a heart attack. You're insane. You know, and then a couple of years later, it was like, okay, well, I guess, you know, people are doing it. Some people are doing it. I guess, you know, it's kind of like the Atkins diet before, and what's it like, and whatever. Now it's very popular. So here's a common experience. Someone who knows about keto, day one, they join this keto group and they're all excited, right? So they're like, boom, boom, I join this. Day two, they ask how much weight, or how long does it take to lose your first, you know, 20 pounds or 30 pounds or 40 pounds, or like right away people ask, and I understand why people ask that, but the first thing they do after they join is basically, you know, how long does it take you to lose your weight? And it's crazy because, and I wonder if it's partially the people that have success, because people join this group, they see all these success stories, right? And they see all these pages, and they always see all these people before and after, and they're like, okay, how do I do it? The next thing they ask, how much of this certain food, you know, can I eat and still be in ketosis? And my example usually is like something terrible that you should never imagine would be on any proper diet, any proper human, human species appropriate diet. In this case, we're talking about a proper human diet. Any dietitian, any nutritionist, any doctor, any person in good faith should not suggest something like Fruit Loops, right? Or anything of these sweet cereals. But that's something that you see typically on the second or third day, even they'll say something like, okay, well, how much of this Fruit Loops can I eat? Or how much of, you know, shredded wheat, or insert any kind of cereal you want, and still be in ketosis. And then as soon as they do that, they get basically pistol whipped by everybody, because it's like, you just get hammered by everybody saying, well, what are you, so stupid? You're going to a keto group. How many of this you're supposed to have? And then you get all the sarcastic people. And sometimes I'm one of these sarcastic people that say, have all the Fruit Loops, sweetheart. Have 10 bowls of Fruit Loops in the morning and 10 bowls of Fruit Loops at night. And then you have to make sure you put at the end, I'm just kidding, because I don't want these people to kill themselves. Good time to remind everybody. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a dietitian. I'm someone who's experiencing life, going through the ropes, going through the ups and downs, just like you, if you are. So back to this. So typically they ask that, not typically, but in one scenario, they ask, what is this food I can eat? Everybody shits on them and says, you can't eat that food. What are you doing? Get out of here. And then the other people say, well, then there's also some people that are just kind of enablers and say, well, you should have maybe one or this or that or whatever. Then next thing you hear from them, maybe the next day or the day after, they say, that's it. I gained 2 pounds. And what's going on? I can't gain weight. What's going on? Why did I gain weight? And then everybody's like, well, dude, you just ate cereal, or you just ate Fruit Loops or whatever. Like, of course you're not going to lose weight, right? And that's just a common thing. It's not going to help you lose weight in cereal. Fruit Loops definitely, or any kind of cereal, in my opinion, it's not going to help you lose weight. Unless, of course, you're an idiot and you go on a super severe calorie restrictive diet where something you have like 600 or 700 calories a day. Sure, you're going to lose weight no matter what you eat. But that's ridiculous, and you shouldn't do that. Don't do that. So next, they'll swear off the diet because, bro, it doesn't work. And the group's full of bullies. Like, that's another thing that we hear a lot, and I see it a lot, and I feel bad for people on one hand. But the other thing, it's like, it's a lot of common sense, right? And a lot of people just get frustrated, but that's the common thing. Last thing you see oftentimes is that, and the reason why I think that this happens is because I went through the same thing. But the last thing happens that finally someone goes and researches it. They find out what keto is. They realize, or they research what keto is. Research what carnivore is, what ketosis is, what insulin resistance is, what even a sugar addiction is, and they realize how it works, right? And then 30 days later, they finally get it. But one of the things that often happens somewhere in there is like usually around, step 2 or step 3 or somewhere in there where oftentimes they kind of feel like it's not working, or say sometimes in that point where they go to that 2 point, they say they're gaining 2 pounds because they ate the wrong food, or they for whatever reason, oftentimes they'll kind of just veer off and go to this another group, oftentimes a vegetarian group and oftentimes a vegan group. And I'm not shitting on them specifically, but I mean, if you're the opposite of a high fat diet is a low fat diet, and a carbohydrate, and a low fat diet is going to come with a high carbohydrate diet because you need energy. You need energy. It's either going to be fat or it's going to be carbohydrates. So oftentimes when people go away from a keto diet, either they're a standard American diet or just a vegetarian diet, it's a high carb diet, right? So they kind of bounce back to that. And one of the things that the vegetarian diet does, and the vegan diet specifically does, and not by the philosophy, of course, and not by, I'm sure, most people's intentions, but it really does support an addiction. It really supports an addiction to a sugar addiction. I think so, in a carbohydrate addiction. So that's why often people find that, and they'll go to a different group and they'll find this or whatever. And then they come there, find themselves back again. Now, I'm trying to make jokes. I'm trying to make fun of people, and then myself as well. And the reason why is because I did the same thing. And it's something that you kind of have a realization with after a while, is that it's intimidating on one hand, or not intimidating. It's kind of daunting on one hand, because you see these people in these groups and you see these before and after, and people have lost 100 pounds. There's people who have lost 200 pounds. And I'm not saying like there's a few people who've lost 100 pounds. There's countless people, folks. There's hundreds of thousands of people. I would say there's probably hundreds of thousands. So 100,000 people or more that have probably lost over 100 pounds. And I'm not saying I'm not saying that I've counted, so there's no way I know for sure, but it's so popular, maybe not 100,000, but there's definitely 1,000, and there's definitely 10,000 people, members of these groups, because the membership is so big and it's so popular, and it's changing people's lives. I understand why it's tough. And again, just poking fun on people, it's one of the things that comes with the internet, right? It's like, hey, I'm joining this group. Boom, these are the first thing that happens in the first 6 days. And that's kind of how I feel, because it's funny. But in reality, a lot of these groups, they're going to be there's not bullies in there, but there are people that are going to shit on you. Yeah, there's miserable people everywhere. There's people that are just unhappy everywhere, but you will find the help you want. This is why I support, and that's why I promote a podcast like this, Fatso Radio, a group like ours, the Fatso Radio Fitness and what is it? Health and Fitness group or something. I'll put a link in there. And then the page itself, right? Because I'm trying to promote the idea of health and wellness. And in the same time, I can't just shit on a group and not give you advice, right? I'm always going to try and give you advice. Again, a couple tidbits, if I can leave you with today. It's just a short episode, but a couple tidbits is that no food is really keto, right? I mean, you can have pizza within a ketogenic framework. I don't recommend it, because it's not just keto that's helping you. It's the removal of pizza, right? That's helping you if pizza bothers you. And this is the same for any kind of food group that's bothering you, any kind of problem food group. If all of these problem foods that you have are carbohydrates and vegetable protein problems you have, well, it's just remove them, right? And that's why I suggest a ketogenic diet. And that's why I suggest a carnivore diet. A carnivore diet is the most tasty and the most the biggest variety of elimination diet, right? And I don't want to harp on it again today, but I do want to talk about it a little bit. But again, it's an elimination diet that gets rid of all that other crap, but can do for the rest of your life. So one of my buddies, Eric, posted today. He's like, well, I try not to think of it as a diet, trying to think of it as a lifestyle. I don't know why I had a hard time spitting that out, but he says that he tries to think of it as a lifestyle, and then it makes complete sense that it is a lifestyle. It's like, these foods are no longer in my life. Sorry. And if I do it a couple times a year, so be it. That's life. It's like if I've done anything that's not on track a couple times a year, so be it. That's life. And if we can do that, if we could spend most of the months in a healthy state, a couple times a year, we do that. That's health. That's real health. That's what people used to do, right? If once a year, maybe, or twice a year, they would have something that they shouldn't have eaten, or maybe once or twice or 3 times or 4 times a year. And that's I think that, but if you go far back enough, there was no food that we shouldn't have eaten. There was no food. If you're eating anything that the land has given you, the universe has given you, the God has given us, it doesn't have any processing. It doesn't have any concentration, and like something like fruit juice, where it's concentrated juice and they add more sugar to it, and they freeze, they remove the pulp, then they add the water back. It's so, it's so Frankenstein after that, right? But if it's natural, it can be overdone as well. And that's the idea of like not something just because it grows natural doesn't mean that it's necessarily good for you because you can overdo it. And it's the same with any kind of food. But one of the many reasons, again, why I like the ketogenic diet and a carnivore type diet is that it's very self-limiting that way. If you are prone to any sort of a food addiction, right, which so many people I know are, especially people that can't get off a high carbohydrate diet. If you can't get off a high carbohydrate diet, maybe there's an addiction there, right? But anyway, this helps people. This helps so many people that have an addiction to carbohydrates. And not even if you're not only if you're addicted to carbohydrates, but if you have an issue with carbohydrates, either insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes or type 1 diabetes or borderline diabetes. I read today that like a third of adults, Canadians have either diabetes or borderline diabetes. I'm like, wow. That's pretty crazy. I got to put the stat up there somewhere, but it's amazing that it is it's so prevalent, and we just need to talk about it. So I'm glad the groups are going like that. I'm glad everybody's into the groups, and I want to keep them going. I just want to kind of have a little fun today. So I hope you have fun. I hope you have a good weekend, everybody. I love you so much. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for your support. I'm doing the 20-20-20 again. It's still going well. I'm doing slow and steady, trying to get good form like I do. There's lots of ways to exercise, right? So do it. Let me know what you think about the show. Let me know if you have anybody in mind. You want to be a guest? You want to be a guest on the show? Let me know. Always looking for someone to talk to. Whether you're a doctor, whether you're a healthcare professional, whether you're a butcher, a farmer, a scientist, whatever it is, where you make glass, you're a bricklayer, you're a chimney sweeper, whatever you want to do, whatever you do, you're special. I want to hear about it, because Fatso Radio is not just about diet. It's about, questioning everything, and not just in a cynical way, and not only in a cynical way by any means, but in a challenging. Let's figure it out. Let's question it. That's so what? Okay, so let's figure out what else is in the world. So happy Friday, everybody. Happy June 4th. It's June 4th. Holy shit, June 4th. I love you all. Don't forget to email me. Hit me up, fatsoradio@gmail.com, the Facebook page, the groups, you know how to do it, YouTube, the comments, and all that stuff. I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody. Thanks for listening, and thanks for your shares. Peace. Fatso Radio. But I was going to say thanks for listening, and I appreciate it. We all appreciate it. Let's say bye to everybody. Bye. And we'll say thanks for listening. Say thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
Fatso Radio, the really great podcast show.
Fatso Radio, the really great podcast show.
So get your butt and get in your chair.
Don't eat your nails and don't pull your hair.
We'll talk about chicken or talk about steak.
We'll talk about fat, for goodness sake.
Fatso, the really great podcast show.
Fatso, a very first podcast show.